But the enormous breaking news overnight from the men's college basketball world, and that is that Kentucky coach John Calipari is no longer Kentucky coach John Calipari. He is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the coach at Arkansas. He leaves Kentucky with 4 Final Fours and 1 national championship in 15 years. So he jumps from one super high profile, I guess the highest profile basketball program in America in the SEC, to another in the same conference with a good, proud tradition. And obviously they won a championship there in the 90s. And they've had a lot of really good teams at Arkansas, but it doesn't have anywhere near the history that Kentucky does. And so when things happen in the SEC, I always get like a little hankering to hear from Paul Finebaum. So I said, let's call up Paul and see what he thinks of this. He is the mouth of the South. So Coach Cal jumping from Kentucky to Arkansas 2 weeks after the AD at Kentucky tweeted, yes, I sat down with Coach and he's coming back and we're going to go forward. What do you make of this, Paul Finebaum?
Greeny, amazingly, I think both fan bases are happy this morning. You say, well, how could that be? Cal is a legend. Well, he's a legend who had really played out at the University of Kentucky. Fans were tired of him. When he got knocked out by Oakland a couple of weeks ago, that was the second time in 3 seasons he lost in the first round. That is unforgivable. And I think he came, Greeny, within a whisker of getting fired. The only reason he stayed there, a $33 million buyout. Meanwhile, Arkansas has been a great program. We know about Nolan Richardson in that epic era, but Eric Musselman had taken them to two Elite Eights and 3 16s. And when he left the other day, people were going, where can this program go? They got John Calipari, who on one hand may be diminished, but when you give him a chance to restart, he might be a welcome to that fan base. But the University of Kentucky this morning has an opportunity now to upgrade the program after Calipari.
And what does that mean? Who should we be expecting to start hearing about at Kentucky in the next day or two?
Well, I think the names you'll hear are Dan Hurley. Obviously, he's the best coach in college basketball, but I don't think he's a legitimate candidate. But the one you have to keep your eye on, we just saw SEC to SEC. Keep your eye on Nate Oates. He just took Alabama, yes, Alabama, to the Final Four for the first time in history. The only issue, he just got a new contract from Greg Byrne, the athletic director, and Greg Byrne put a $20 million buyout. Now, you say that is enormous. How could you possibly pay 20? Think about it, Greeny. I realize I'm not Jim Cramer here this morning on Wall Street today, but Kentucky just saved $33 million by not firing Cal. So they have a surplus of plus 13 if you're doing the math here before the Dow opens. I think they could say, why not go after the best coach in the SEC right now, who is Nate Oates.
Paul, are you going to tell me that Alabama's going to lose Nick Saban and Nate Oates in the same month or relatively close to that period of time? Could that happen?
Well, I mean, it's possible. Nate Oates loves Alabama, but I think Alabama's run was phenomenal, Greeny. But listen, Alabama is not Kentucky. Kentucky is the gold standard. Alabama football and Kentucky basketball are essentially the same thing. So Nate Oates does not need a refresher course in the event he takes the job.
I'm with you. And by the way, Pete Thamel mentioned the name Billy Donovan, who, of course, was the last basketball coach to win back-to-back national championships on that level at Florida, been in the NBA now for the past, whatever it's been, decade. And so that's another name to keep an eye on. Paul